My name is Neil Mitchell, and I am a candidate for mayor in the city of Provo. Now, it's interesting. My son-in-law, who's got a master's degree and he's taken all sorts of marketing classes, he says to me, he says, "Dad, if you make a big page like this, nowadays nobody's going to read it. They want something that's 3 seconds long, 30-second sound bite maybe. But if there's more than 3 or 4 words on a page, they won't read it." Maybe I'm naive, but I'm going to give people the benefit of the doubt, and I pass out these flyers. Now, since it's going to be a heck of a time passing them out to everybody in Provo, I'm going to read one tonight. It just talks about the past civic planning in Provo, which has been abominable at times. For example, someone who lives over by the new Provo High School, if they want to shop in Orem or Springville, they can get to a grocery store there faster than they can in Provo. And I've had people drive it and show me that's the case. For years we've needed a grocery store on the west side, but for some reason it hasn't been put in. And for any kind of civic planning, people should be able to shop where they live. Now, frankly, the South University Avenue area has needed a grocery store for years. Matter of fact, it's needed a lot of things. There's a number of places that have wanted to go in, and for one reason or another, Provo City said no. They were waiting for something better, and so the area in South University Avenue is hurting. I was over at the bank there at Chase the other day, and they said, here, great location, and the traffic is not that great. There's just not that much. That needs to change. Now, a while back, a few years ago, the city officials in Provo and surrounding cities crammed the BRT down our throats. That's Bus Rapid Transit. The idea is they could get faster around town quicker. And so the buses to this point are still running no fare. And they're not very full. Now what that tells me is that as soon as they start charging a fare, ridership will drop. And so you go up University Avenue, and one whole section, 1/3 of the lane side of the street is bus only, and so all the rest of the traffic is packed into the other 2 lanes. I didn't vote for BRT. I didn't think it was a good idea, but past civic official said if we build it, they will come. Speaking of the riders, so far they haven't. Now the Provo budget comes primarily from sales taxes, and much of the area that is available now here north of the new Lakeview diagonal or causeway, not causeway, it's a parkway. Most of the area north of that, a lot of it is being filled in with homes. We need more commercial development. That's where the sales taxes come from. And so far, just to the west of 5th West, right now that has been zoned for single family dwellings. Now I know we need more housing in Utah. There is no, let's be honest, there is no affordable housing in Utah not at the present time. That's just a fact of life, and it's going to take a lot of planning amongst different cities to get together and work on that. Now there's too many chains. If you're a national chain, too many of them. See, Provo and Orem is just one town, so if they've got a location in Orem, we figure they've got Provo covered. That is not true. If you've got to drive 2, 3, 4, or 5 miles to Orem, that just adds a lot more pollution here in the valley. These national chains, if they got a location in Orem, they need another anchor store in Provo. And I think Provo leadership has to start pushing for that. Instead, we see everybody shutting down. There used to be a Target, or excuse me, a Shopco, Orem and Provo. Provo's closed, Orem's open. R.C. Willey Furniture, Orem and Provo. Provo's closed, Orem is open. We've got to start talking to these different chains and tell them, encourage them to come to Provo. If they don't want to, then we got to find some of their competition that will. That's simple. Near the airport, fortunately, the airport has been expanded. We're starting to get air travel out of Provo, so we won't have to go all the way to Salt Lake City to take a plane. That's always been very irritating to me. They made it easier. You could take the fast light rail, but still, it's a long way. It takes time. I'd rather take a 5-minute drive to the Provo airport. And that's being enlarged. Additional routes are coming out, being put out of Provo. And what we need to do is find a few. What do I have here? Aerospace industries to come in and add to the area. And what I'd like to see, and I don't know what it would take, I'd like to see a feasibility study. A feasibility study to find out if it would be practical to have a just a regional commuter airline operating out of Provo. There's every city of any size in the state of Utah has an airport. Vernal, Cedar City, St. George, Logan. And if a person has business in one of those towns, it sure be a lot nicer to be able to go into a small local commuter airline and fly to Logan or St. George, Cedar City, Vernal, instead of driving. It'd save a lot of time, be a lot easier, be a lot more convenient. I don't know what a feasibility study would cost, but I think it's something we should pursue. Now, Provo, of course, has won some awards. They brag about that we got an award as being the best city in the United States to start a business. Problem is, business start up. As soon as they start developing, they take off and go to greener pastures. We need to get them to stay here. Everybody thinks of Silicon Slopes as the area up at Point of the Mountain and Lehigh. We've got to get the attitude to people that Silicon Slopes is everything in Utah Valley. Businesses start up in Provo. We should make sure that they have the resources and the connections that they can continue to expand in Provo instead of having to move. And this last one, a lot of people said it doesn't bother them, but this year at the Provo Freedom Festival, they've changed it to the the America's Freedom Festival at Provo. And so of 29 events, 7 of them were in Orem. Now, Orem every year has the Summerfest. They don't hold Summerfest items in Provo. And so why in the world we're holding Freedom Festival events in Orem? I don't know. But the Freedom Festival, of course, is a separate entity. They're their own corporate structure. I think the city of Provo needs to pressure them that you put your events in Provo. That's just a few ideas. There's something else I might mention. My neighbors over on 5th West here in Provo For years, they were told when they put Fifth West all the way through, they built an underpass so that you didn't have to go around, and then they hooked us into Lakeview Parkway to the south. And they promised the neighbors over on Fifth West they would not lose their on-street parking. Well, that's gone. The city needs a lot more transparency. I mean, if you're going to make a promise, it should be a promise that's going to be kept. Instead of saying, well, you're telling people what they want to hear and changing it later, doing a little bait and switch, that doesn't cut it. That's not transparency. That's lying, and some people might say it's just outright fraud, although that doesn't fit the legal definition. So we need more transparency in the Provo city government. People need to know what's going on. They need to be able to give input, and it shouldn't be that difficult. Now, the pandemic's the last couple of years, everything on Zoom, that's been next to impossible. Nobody wants to sit through a 4 or 5 hour Zoom meeting for the 5 minutes that fits them. So hopefully we can get this pandemic ended. We can start having everything in person so that people can go in, they can listen to their 5 minutes, leave, do what they want. But again, that's going to be up to nature. That's going to be up to ending the pandemic, which city government really doesn't have that much to do with. It's called nature. Unfortunately, nature is not always good to us. At any rate, that's a few things that's on my mind. I could go on and on. The 2 mayors ago, they completely redid the what used to be called Bulldog Boulevard, Fifth West. In the process, they almost shut down half of the businesses up there. Everybody blames the current mayor, but actually it's the one before her, sadly. But I'm a little tired of having all the streets torn up every other year, and we need to do a little long-term planning. If we can't plan any better than what we have, there's something wrong. At any rate, again, those are some thoughts that I have. Thank you for listening.